Lena Greenhouse wrote a fascinating piece in the New York Times today. The courts begin to call out lawmakers. We have, for a long time in the United States, and this is a symptom of the unraveling of what I've been referring to for some time, for the 13 years I've been doing this program, but in a big way over the last few months, the fact that the Republican Party has turned into a scheme. It's a con. And there's a bunch of con men who get in on it. I mean, you get the people who are like running for president simply to raise their brand awareness. The Newt Gingriches of the world, for example. You get the people who are running for the president and fairly obviously, and they screwed up the Republican primary in a way. And in fact, I would argue that was the only reason that Donald Trump originally ran, was he wanted to raise the value of his brand. In fact, I'm sure that he figured if I go out there and tell the truth, it was a Bulworth thing. I go out there and tell the truth, nobody will vote for me. Bulworth's an amazing movie, by the way. Warren Beatty. But in any case, the courts have traditionally held to the 1971 standard of Palmer versus Thompson, which says basically if we're the Supreme Court and we're trying to figure out if this law was constitutional or if it's a good law or whatever, because they've just decided that they have the power over all laws anywhere under any circumstances, whatever. If we're going to figure this thing out, and we need to know the intent of the legislators. Now, Scalia was pretty much, I don't care what the legislators thought. What did the founders think? Because Scalia could channel the founders. But typically, it's like, what did the legislators mean? Well, let's go back and read the transcripts of the legislative debate. And then out of that, we'll decide if this law, the way it's being implemented right now by this state, in this case of this lawsuit, actually fulfills that goal. But what happens when the legislators' goal is to keep black people from voting, but nobody says it out loud during the debate? This is exactly what's going on. And it's not just black people. It's also poor people, young people, and older people, people who are less and people who live in big cities, people who are less likely to have driver's licenses and more likely to vote on Sundays and things like that. So instead, the Republicans invented this whole BS thing about in-person voter fraud and said, that's what we're trying to solve. In other words, they invented a straw man problem. And they said, here's the law that'll knock down the straw man, when really what they were trying to do was keep people from voting. And in 3 cases now, judges have said, it's fairly obvious to us that you Republican legislators lied about your intent. And we've figured that out. And we're going to respond to your actual intent, not your stated intent. And this is a relatively new thing, at least in the modern era of jurisprudence. And it's a pretty big deal.